I want to bring up is probably the worst thing possible about the game. All the stupid little bugs that are still there.
Yeah, so we should probably start on a bad note and then end on a good note, because really it's a good game, but God, there were so many bugs and there's so many minor issues that bring down the game that really we should go over first and get that out of the way.
Yeah, so the first bug we even encountered was when it wasn't like, having login issues. That's expected for a beta. That's literally like, god damn it. There. Now my volume isn't, I think, overwhelming. Literally the first bug we ran into that was not a login issue was clicking through the races and having shit disappear. Like, the character models did not show up. You can watch the live stream, or the previous stream of it. The very first video of ESO on the Twitch channel is literally... I'm sorry, but when you're selecting a character and it stops rendering models, something went wrong.
And it blows my mind, because I wouldn't think there's a loading issue, because you were just... I watched the video you linked to me. I didn't have that bug, but you did. I watched the video you linked to me. You were on the Orc, then you went to a different race, then you went back, and now suddenly races weren't loading. That just... And here's the thing, guys. If you're listening to this, yeah, it's a beta. We get it. We're 1 month to launch. The game's early access comes out now less than a month from here. And it's just the bugs that are in this beta test are not something that should be in the game when you're 1 month away from launching. You can't use the excuse beta is beta when we're this close to the game's launch. So... yeah, we're going to complain about a lot of bugs. I'm hoping that a lot will be fixed in that month's time. But judging from my experience of the beta test, I've been in 4 tests out of the 5 I've been invited to, and seeing just how much has been fixed, this is really worrisome, guys. This is bad.
Yeah, okay, so the 5-day head start for Imperial Edition players starts on... I think it's the 30th or 31st of this month. It is the 3rd currently. We have a little under 4 weeks for... well, technically, actually, it's the 2nd, because it just hit midnight for me. But, we have a little under 4 weeks before the game is live. Actually live. You put in your CD key, you start playing, you get your free month, and then you start paying monthly. That kind of live. And for bugs like this to still be active this is probably the final beta before release, this should have been a stress test beta. See if the servers can handle it.
Yeah, it's absolutely mind-blowing, and here's the biggest thing. Like I said, through my multiple tests, it's all been low-level content, the starting zones, the first 2 tutorial islands, and then the big first mainland. This was supposed to be a test of how does the starting experience feel, and throughout each of my tests, the starting experience, the very first islands, have been bugged to the point where it is impossible to progress. You can log out and log back in and hopefully it fixes your bug, but there are times when these starting quests that are mandatory to progress are bugged out and you cannot continue. And that is bad. With how much testing that has been done specifically on the starting zones, And with how close we are to launch, that is something that's going to destroy the game if it launches and those bugs are still there. Understanding that we have been in multiple, me and Tana here have been multiple different tests where we've played games, and when it launches, you got server problems, you got login issues, whatever. It's expected because nobody seems to expect how many people are going to be playing on launch. That's understandable. Having quests during a beta test that are just bugged to the point where enemies won't spawn, or you'll never get credit, or something like that, that's different. These are things that have been so thoroughly tested over the last several months, and in fact, my first beta test was back in September, that are still persistent over all those months. They're still there. That is bad, and that is worrisome. And we're sounding negative, and if we do, we're being honest, okay? Negative criticism is a good thing. I love the game. I've pre-ordered the Imperial Edition for myself. Tana here's got the Imperial Edition coming. We are excited for this game. We love the Elder Scrolls. We love MMOs. It's just these are issues that need to be brought up and talked about. It blows my mind that throughout that last beta test, I don't know if you really saw it in the chat, but people who would be like, hey, is this quest bugged? Yeah, this quest is bugged. And then they'd go on to say, wow, this kind of really sucks. People were saying, it's a beta, or, God, I wish the complainers were gone. And it blows my mind. Like, you can't say that, okay? Yeah, it's a beta, but at this point in the beta, those bugs in the starting zones, not even the high-end content, the starting zones should not be there.
Yeah, a couple of the biggest quests that were bugged were the elemental quests, where you had to destroy the elementals. I think there was one on the actual starting zone for the Daggerfall, and then there was one a little bit beyond the Daggerfall city, where you had to kill the earth, water, and air. Both of those quests were using the same mechanic. Both of them were bugged to the point where it actually took me 2 of the 3 beta days to complete to kill the water elemental, because it would not spawn. I got lucky one day when earlier today actually, I logged in and someone had already spawned the water elemental. The root wasn't there, but someone already spawned it, and I used my instant cast to tag it, so I got credit. That is the only way I completed it.
It was literally pure luck. So there were 2 quests. One where you had to summon undead in a graveyard on the second starting island for the Daggerfall Covenant, and there were times when the portals to summon the monsters weren't there. There were times when the portals were there and you could click summon, but nothing would ever happen. It was literally a crapshoot. And then once you get to the main land, there's a quest where you have to go to this giant tree and kill a corrupted earth, corrupted water, and corrupted wind elemental. And to do that, you had to click this root, and it'd break the root, and it'd summon the elemental. And the roots just wouldn't show up. So there's no way to summon it. So you had to log out and log back in and hope that you were put on a server. Okay, I'm going to go on a side tangent here for a second. The mega server, just for a lot of you who don't know, it's a lot of fancy masking. There's still multiple servers in the game, and you get assigned to one when you log in, depending on the population of the servers. So it's not just one huge server, it's a bunch of multiple servers stringed together in a clever way. So what you had to do was you had to log out, log back in, and hope that you were on a server where the quest wasn't bugged or where someone had managed to get the enemy to spawn. And that's how you completed those quests. And that you had to do that for a lot of quests, not just those 2. There were a ton of quests where I had to log out, log in, and hope for the best.
Yeah. to continue on that mega server thing, for people who don't know how this works, for anybody who's ever played a game that uses the channels system, like Terra or MapleStory or anything like that, that's basically what ESO does, except they hide what channel you're on. And if you join a party with someone, it tries its very best to hide that it's moving one of you to the other channel.
I think a really good way to describe it is, for anyone who plays World of Warcraft, it's CRZ, it's Connected Realms. It's just they've got it hidden. You never see a server list, you never see any of that. The only thing you see servers on is Tamriel PvP, which you're basically choosing a battle group. But other than that, it's CRZ, but you can't see the mechanics behind it. It's just really well masked. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. That's how they have their mega server working.
I don't have a problem with that. That's perfectly fine with me. It's just good to explain that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've got no problem with that either. The phasing was at times with how it would connect you and your friend if you were both on different servers at that time. But it works. It's buggy, but that's not a game-breaking bug. It's a bug that really is just inconvenient.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things that'll be patched later to make it more seamless, but, you know, all the beta tests they've had have been very small population betas, so they probably haven't had enough people in the same spot to push too many people into different servers to really get a grasp of how it's going to work. Another big bug that I ran into, because for some reason I'm the one that runs into all the major bugs, is there was this one point in one of the, I think it was on the first island, where I had to run up the stairs and talk to this person in the corner of a crumbling building. And this is on the stream. I walked up, talked to him, started going through the conversation, and an NPC decided to golf punt me off the building mid-conversation.
I wish I had recorded it, because on my side it was funny as hell. I just see Tana run up, and an NPC follows him from downstairs up to the guy he was talking to, and while he was talking to this NPC, he just gets punted off the side of the building, and, well, that glitched out the quest, so he had to abandon the whole thing and start over.
Yep, because they didn't have it set to when you click the final thing, it makes the person disappear. The moment you close out of conversation, the NPC disappears, regardless of if you've completed it or not.
I've noticed that it's not with all NPCs, but occasionally that happens, and it's kind of annoying, especially because we were rushing through it. We just wanted to get like as high as we can so we could experience as much as we can. We wanted to experience the PvP, which is gated off at level 10, and the time it took to get to level 10 was like 12-14 hours of us skipping through dialogue. I foresee a problem with the idea that this is a game where you're supposed to immerse yourself, you're supposed to listen to them, read the dialogue, so on and so forth. We were trying to skip through the dialogue, and in that time frame, he got punted off and his quest got bugged. That's going to be a problem for people who are sitting there trying to talk with an NPC, and they start getting their butt kicked.
Yeah, not to mention that the specific spot that NPC spawns at, there's 2 enemy NPCs that spawn about 10 feet away. So you really gotta be lucky and have either a friend sitting there camping those NPCs while you're listening to it, or hope to God they don't decide to use the golf club. Because we killed the ones that were in the corner there, that spawned. The one that punted me off chased me from downstairs. I didn't even think I had aggro, so I just clicked the NPC and started talking, and whee!
Yeah, that's bad. And honestly, I want to bring this up. So, it's not Bethesda. I keep forgetting that. Bethesda are the guys who made Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind. This game is being made by ZeniMax, who is I forget the terminology. Basically, Bethesda's
It's their parent
smaller
company.
section of ZeniMax. Yeah, so parent company. That's what I was thinking of. So this game's being made by a different team, not Bethesda, and going to that, I think ZeniMax has been for the longest time pushing for, gimmicky time frame releases. So this game's going to be released 4/4/2014. So 4/4/4. Kind of like how Skyrim was, 11/11/11?
Yeah.
And really, I think the smart thing at this point, well, actually, we're past the point of no return. It would have been smart for them months ago with all the feedback that we've been giving. Like, this game is already deemed to be the biggest failure of 2014. The feedback they've been getting from beta and testers, and like, I've read the forums, people have been saying, this game's got problems. They should have not pushed for such an early release. This game should have taken at least another 6-7 months, because as it stands, with all the bugs, like I said, in just the starting area, where like not even the in-game areas, which in this test were blocked off by invisible walls, you can't do that. It's bad. And I think by pushing a 4/4/4 gimmicky release date, ZeniMax is not only going to release a buggy game, but they're going to release a game that's going to be a smudge on the Elder Scrolls series. It's going to really bring down the brand name of Elder Scrolls, and I don't know. I guess part of me, I'll admit it, I was expecting a lot more, and I just don't feel that they're going to live up to people's expectations. I've gone a bit off track, and really, we've talked about the starting area bugs quite a bit already. I actually want to discuss. Did you do any stealth gameplay, Tana, while we were doing our playtest?
I did a little bit, but I didn't actually make a Nightblade. I just did some stealth play with my Sork, which actually worked quite well because stealth fireball is broken.
On the other spectrum, as you know, after our first day, I re-rolled to a bow using class, and I actually noticed that the stealth in the game is very broken, at least if you're using archery. It basically decides, do I feel like doing a stealth attack or not? Because about roughly half the time I did a sneak attack with my bow, it would not stun or do the bonus sneak attack damage. It would just do a normal attack. I don't know why. I've submitted bug reports on it. Hopefully they look into it. But with a ranged attack, I found myself not gain my sneak attack bonus roughly half the time I did a sneak attack.
Yeah, I noticed that with my Inferno staff too. Occasionally I would get bonus damage, and occasionally I wouldn't. It was pretty 50-50 on my part.
Yeah, that's one thing that needs to be looked into. Another thing was when we were doing the Alliance war, I was crouched down hiding between some rocks while the enemy army ran by, and the entire time my user interface, the little stealth eye that they made popular in Oblivion and Skyrim, said that I was undetected. There's no one who saw me. And as I watched everyone run by, most of the army had passed through our gates except for one guy who stopped, turned directly at me where I was hiding, and started firing arrows. It said I was hidden. His arrows weren't hitting me, but he somehow saw that I was there, which I don't know how. And then he started firing volleys off, so I had to literally get out of there, and, well, I eventually died, but it seems like the stealth detection in this game also isn't absolutely accurate. Like, I feel that the communication in game between the server going, okay, you can see this guy, and going, okay, that guy can see you, is a little off. Because apparently he could see me, he knew I was there, but my game said the exact opposite, that nobody could see me, that I was hidden. So that's another bug I reported. Hopefully that gets fixed. And it really bugs me because I like being a stealth character. I like sneaking around, sniping. That's my thing. And to see that that system has potentially a game-breaking bug, because if you're sneaking and sneaking's not working, that is kind of game-breaking. That would be like a rogue in World of Warcraft using stealth, but not being invisible to anyone, regardless of how far you were away from them.
Yeah, that sounds like a... I didn't have any of that, because I didn't do it in PvP. I only used mine in PvE. But, yeah, that sounds like it needs to be fixed. Or some better way to relay to the player, hey, you're invisible. Or, you might be invisible, but certain people might be able to see you.
Yeah, I mean, really, the system's good. I like the whole, like, hey, they can kind of detect you, or hey, you're completely detected, or whatever. Like the Skyrim system in Elder Scrolls Online, it's nice. And when dealing with NPCs, it's really like obvious if you can be seen or not. NPCs make cues; they turn to you like they do in Skyrim and Oblivion. It's really fleshed out. But I think that if there's either a user interface issue or a communication between the server issue for PvP, I'm not sure. I made a bug post on that, but the actually user interface brings me to another bug, like compasses bugging out.
Yes. Hey, I need to turn left. I need to turn left. I'm back where I started, but it's still on the left.
That was a big issue. The whole point of, hey, here's your quest objective, which is cool. I kind of like that system because you have both the map and the compass. So it's like, I don't personally use it, but I know a lot of people use an add-on called TomTom and like WoW. And I'm sorry for referencing WoW a lot, but it's just another MMO that comes to mind.
It's the industry standard at this point.
For a pay-to-play game, yeah, WoW's the industry standard. Tell me what other game is successfully using the pay-to-play model right now. So until Elder Scrolls Online goes free-to-play, which honestly, unless they can pull a miracle out, fix all the bugs, and have an amazing end game, since I haven't really had a chance to see it, I'm sure it's going to go free-to-play eventually. But because it's pay-to-play and because WoW's pay-to-play, we're using that as the primary comparison. But using the Elder Scrolls system of a compass to lead you in the direction you need to go, and it's really well done. It tells you if something's below you, if it's above you, and it's very accurate of where you need to go, until the user interface bugs out and decides that your landmarks, such as like camps, towers, waypoints, freeze, but your compass doesn't. So no matter which direction you're looking, those landmarks are stuck in that place on your compass. And after doing several reload UIs, it didn't seem to fix it. I had to completely log out and log back in to get that fixed.
Yeah, it's not just landmarks either. It was enemy placement and basically anything that was not the cardinal directions could freeze on your compass. The cardinal directions never froze. Those were perfectly accurate the entire way through, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the only thing that bugged out in the UI. My last test was the first test I had done where they had crafting open, and when I was working through crafting, I found that when I would exit the crafting like interface, my character would be stuck hunched over like the interface was still up. I wouldn't be able to move, I wouldn't be able to control it, where I was basically just watching my character stand there doing nothing. And what it was is the user interface and the game system was getting confused. You had to do a reload UI to get your character back to your control. And while they fixed a lot of it, comparatively to my last test, it happened much less frequently, but it was still there, where you could be crafting, you click to exit the crafting, and you'd be stuck until you did a reload UI. And that's another thing that crafting is going to be something big in this game. It's probably going to be where you're going to get a lot of your top end gear is through crafting your own gear with your own chosen traits, upgrading that gear, enchanting that gear. Like, crafting is everything in this game. Crafting is king. And with basic user interface issues of that magnitude still present, albeit less frequently, so it means that they've got to be working on it and fixing it. If that makes it live, that's going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, they need to do some kind of repeated check when you're not in a crafting, so that it fixes itself. Like, for the next, I don't know, 30 seconds after you leave a crafting table, check if you're still active at that crafting table. Otherwise, exit. Go back to normal UI.
Yeah. But, it's a beta, which I said, you can't really say it's a beta, and you can't when there's a month left to go. But I expect bugs. I understand that bugs are there, and I do my part to report them. But just seeing them continue from one test to another is very worrisome, especially with this little time left. But with all that said, I really enjoyed the game. I absolutely loved playing the game. I played over this test 3 different characters. One where me and Tana played the entire time in a group, which worked very seamlessly, but suffers from the same issues as other MMOs, which I'd like to go into, is that, okay, the idea that you can join up with your friends at any time sounds nice in theory, but if you're on different parts of quests, just like any other MMO, as is expected, it's really inconvenient, because if I'm 5 quests ahead of Tana, I either have to go back and help him with those 5 parts, or he won't really be able to join me. So, it's got your traditional MMO questing system, but when you do play together, it works so well. And even when you're not in a group, the fact that they took away monster claiming, like in World of Warcraft and several other games, if you attack a monster, it's tagged to you. Someone else can't get credit for it, which is a broken down old system. I'm kind of glad to see it's not in Elder Scrolls Online. Anyone can attack anything, and as long as you help, you get credit.
One thing that I over the past couple hours before I had to go to work, I was watching some other people's final thoughts videos because I wanted to either refute or enhance their claims. And one thing that I heard, I can't even remember all the people that were complaining about it, but like one of the bigger names I remember was Angry Joe commented on this, is the in a game like Oblivion and Skyrim, this works beautifully because you're the only player doing it. But in an MMO where, especially in a rookie zone, I mean, out in the higher level zones, maybe, but in the rookie zone where, you might have 100 people doing the escape from the prison thing at any given time, you cannot have barrels and chests and, well, maybe random rare spawn chests, yes, but just the barrels and boxes and crates and jugs and sacks and everything like that, you cannot have that tied to one person. One first person gets it, and then you gotta wait 3 hours for it to respawn. those are common material things. That is where you get your cooking materials from. That is where you get everything from. I mean, you look at Guild Wars 2. They did it beautifully. Like, if you walk up to a tree and you chop it down, you chopped it down. But the next person that walks up to that tree, it's still there for them.
Instance loot, yeah. And you know, I'm on the point where I agree and I disagree. Like, basic crates and barrels and stuff like that really should not be instanced. I mean, honestly, the loot in there isn't all that amazing. For the most part, you're gonna get like cooking broth and like flour and just, you know, basic cooking I don't think flour is one of the things, but just basic cooking materials. And for that to be instanced, I can't understand. For chests, like locked chests, to be like one person gets it and then you're out of luck, I'm fine for that. Like, if it's something that's somewhat rare, cool. But if you're in a dungeon where every single urn, every single pot, every single crate and barrel is picked clean, and there's literally nothing for you to loot, that's a big issue. Because Elder Scrolls, in my opinion, is one of those games where you go through, you explore everything. You find a pot, it's like, oh, what could be in there? Oh, cool, you know, it's a couple coins, maybe some junk you don't want, so it's like, whatever. But looking through stuff, that sense of discovery is a big thing. Putting that in an MMO and then making it non-instanced, where it's just free game to the players, it's kind of boring going through a dungeon and seeing hundreds of footlockers and urns and pots, and all of them just say empty, 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 empty. Because it makes you feel like you're out of luck. Like, there's nothing for you to discover. There's nothing for you to find. With a locked chest, okay, yeah, first come, first serves, it works. It's been done in other MMOs. That's fine. But for everything to be non-instanced, for everything to be like, hey, you either get to it first or you get nothing, that's an issue.
Yeah, we came up against a couple spots that had a whole crap ton of crates and barrels and everything like that. And there were people just sitting there on beta for some odd reason, just waiting for them to respawn. On live, I can kinda understand it, maybe? Sort of, but on a 3-day beta, you're just sitting there for 3 hours straight, sitting in front of a box, waiting for it to not say empty when you mouse over it. It just seems like a waste of time for everybody, and it just seems, like Bass said, or Bass, I can never say your name right. I keep wanting to say Bass. Fishy. But like Bass said, it's disheartening, I guess, would be the right word for that. Because you're like, yeah, I just logged in 10 minutes after the servers went live. Well, someone's already picked through the entire zone.
That is going to be an issue. I can guarantee it. My first 3-hour stress test, because like I said, 5 tests I've been invited to, 4 I've done. First one was a 3-hour test. None of the chests were like full at any time. I didn't get to loot a single chest because there are so many people going through that starting experience that the entire place was picked clean. And I guarantee that come the first few weeks of launch, that starting experience and the starting islands are literally going to have nothing for anyone to loot. All the chests are going to be empty. Everything's going to be gone. And that's kind of taking away from the Elder Scrolls feel of having all that treasure, even if it's just junk. Like, how many times have you gone Skyrim and you're like, oh, look, an urn. Okay, there's 5 gold. That's nice. Oh, pewter cup. I do not want that. I'll just leave that there. Like, yes. It's the sense of exploring. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I've done that hundreds of times. I'll log into Skyrim, I'll walk in a house to do a quest, and I'll be like, oh, look, a bookshelf. Yoink. And then I'll look at the table, go gold, 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 meat, gold, gold, cup. No, I don't want that.
Yeah, it's really it's something addictive about the game. Is because you see a crate and you go, what could be in there? It could be something good. It could be junk. More often than not, sacks and crates have, food or junk items, and you don't take it, but still, you want to look through stuff. You want to explore. When everything's already empty and picked clean, that's taking away a big part of the explorative part of almost said Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls.
Well, I mean, this basically is Skyrim. It's Daggerfall, Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim. It's all the Elder Scrolls mashed into one MMO experience. Yet they took out a lot of the Elder Scrolls experience.
I just realized that we moved from the bugs and complaining, and yet we're still complaining. I think it's because we like the game. We really, really like this game. And so when we're complaining, it's not that, oh, this is a bad game. In fact, if you were to ask me, should I play Elder Scrolls Online, I will tell you yes.
Yes.
Hesitation. It's a good
Definitely.
game.
Definitely yes. I will completely agree with that. Play it. Buy it. I mean, even if you just buy the standard edition after it comes out and you don't get to play any race on any faction or whatever, just spend the however much it is after release to get the base game and at least play it for that one free month.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good game. I really like it. It's just these things have to be said. They have to be put out there because they are glaring issues. Like I said, the loot being non-instance takes away from the experience. But the overall starting experience, what did you think? I mean, yeah, it had the whole, you start out as a prisoner, but this had a weird twist to it, as you started out kind of, I wouldn't say you were dead, but you were not in Tamriel. You were a different kind of prisoner comparatively to the other game.
Yeah, you weren't some prisoner in the basement of some castle like in Oblivion, and or you weren't some prisoner held up on a boat like in Morrowind. You were like in a different plane, I guess.
Yeah, you were. Okay, actually, this confused me. I'm going to be honest. Like we said earlier, we were trying to get high level quickly. Like when the game comes out, we're going to be focusing on the lore, because I love listening to the story. I love listening to the voice actors, which they have a phenomenal voice cast for Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, definitely. So some of the top and some of my favorite voice actors of all time are on here. Like, one of which is not listed in the credits yet. Hopefully he will be. Stephen Bloom, the voice actor for fucking Spike in Cowboy Bebop.
That, like, it threw me for a surprise, because I wasn't expecting him to be voice acting any characters. And then Tana actually brought up and said, hey, that's him. And I'm like, no. I listened to the character again. Yeah, it's totally him. It was, oh man, I can't remember his name. We played the Daggerfall Covenant. He's one of the rogue characters you help on the first island. I feel so bad I can't remember his name, but the voice acting is phenomenal. And I wish that it wasn't a beta weekend, so we didn't have to try to get, up to level 10 as fast as we could to experience the PvP. Because the quest, like the voice acting and the writing in the quests, all that is just really well done. It's Elder Scrolls standard. Like, if this game has anything going for it, like, to make it feel like an Elder Scrolls game, it's visually, it looks like an Elder Scrolls game. When it comes to sound, it sounds like an Elder Scrolls game. And when it comes to story and dialogue, it feels like an Elder Scrolls game. It is so well done.
Yeah, just... Here's one suggestion I'm going to tell for everybody, and I'm probably personally going to do it. And I don't know if Base here is going to follow me in it, but I'm going to play every single alliance up to at least 10, just to get the story, because even just skipping through everything. Like if you go back and watch the like 30 something videos, because OBS kept crashing because Skyrim kept freezing. But if you even just the first and I think it's the third one, those are the two longest ones. If you just watch those, you'll see we were just literally going, talk to you, click, 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 click. Even just skipping through that, just registering some of the text by seeing it for a millisecond was just amazing. Like, subliminal reading, I guess would be the term for it.
Speaking of subliminal, nice slip on saying we were playing Skyrim.
God damn it. Can you blame me? It's seriously that good.
Okay. People were saying it looks better than Skyrim. You're high. People were saying
True.
It looks good, like Skyrim. Yeah, it does. It looks fantastic visually. It's amazing. And what blows my mind the most is that it's still got a lot of optimization to go because it's locked up everyone I know's computer. Throughout gameplay, it'll just randomly lock up your entire computer. But like how much power it takes to play the game, I was playing at maximum settings on my computer, which is starting to get pretty old, without ever experiencing lag. I can't do that on WoW. And WoW is a game that's like 10 years old now. It gets updated visually frequently, but for this brand new game with graphics that look mind-blowing to me in an MMO, to run this smoothly, it's really well done. And it looks like Skyrim. It looks like Morrowind. It looks like Hammerfall and Daggerfall. It looks awesome.
Okay, so to give some people perspective who may have not seen too many screenshots or played the beta or anything like that, the models themselves, the 3D geometry of everything on there is, I'd say, pretty damn close to Skyrim. The textures, on the other hand, are... Take Skyrim, delete the high quality or high res texture packs that you have, and bump those down just a little bit.
Yeah, I would say it's not medium, but it's not high. It's definitely not ultra, but somewhere, down between there. It's good. The game looks visually good for an MMO, which is the big thing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you're playing a single player, everything bumped up to maximum, if I lag, well, that's my own fault game. It does not. It does, however, look very much like a next-gen or late current-gen MMO.
It's good. It's good visually. It's good quest-wise. Like we were saying, we were talking about the voice actors. I'm going to try and redirect us back to that. Like, it's got the Elder Scrolls feel. It's definitely a game where you can go in there, you'll look around, you'll listen to people like walking around and talking around you, which it updates as you go.
Yes, that is
a little bit.
That is one of my favorite things about this, and I will totally let you take that. But that was just amazing hearing those in the background as I'm walking through town.
Yeah, and it's something you don't see in an MMO. Like, that's the biggest thing. An MMO is supposed to be a persistent world that evolves around you. And I feel that we've really, over the years, lost that spirit. Nowadays, it's like new campaigns, but the world itself doesn't really seem to evolve very much or very frequently. With this game, we did, when we got to Daggerfall, we did a quest where we had to find, something was killing people. And as you'd walk through, townsfolk would be like, oh, I'm so afraid. There's a killer lurking in the shadows. People turning up dead. And after you discover it's a werewolf, all of a sudden that dialogue changed. And people were like, can you believe that a werewolf got into town? I can't believe it. And just the dialogue progresses as you quest. in such a subtle way that really feels like the world's evolving. People, when you walk by them, will recognize you. They'll say, oh, look, it's the hero who saved us from whatever. The world evolves after you progress through it in a way that makes you feel like it's not super stagnant like most MMOs. It has that Elder Scrolls feel of your actions do impact the game world.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's so many just passive, non-interactable NPCs. I mean, it doesn't bother me that they're non-interactive. But the fact that the towns actually feel like there's people there and not just when there's players, that'll really help when the majority of the players get past those cities. So, there might be 3 people in the noob city, but there'll still be NPCs there that make it feel full. So you're not, sitting there on a dead server alone in a city. You're on a dead server alone in a city full of NPCs that you can walk around. They'll talk to you.
That brings me to another point. How seamlessly the players fit in the world. So I've seen a lot of people who've complained about this. One of the people I watch on Twitch TV goes by the Preacher. He doesn't play Elder Scrolls games, but he said that it ruins a game's immersion when you see like 10 people butt naked on an inn randomly dancing, stuff like that. I didn't really feel any of that except for one explicit moment we found outside the Fighters Guild, which you know.
I will post that picture up as while I'm rendering this video. That will be the background for this spot. Yes, I know exactly what part you're talking about, and oh my god.
Yeah, but other than that, it was so seamlessly integrated that at times we thought that other players were enemies or NPCs, and other players thought the same about us. There were times where someone would run up and attack me and then be like, oh, you're not an enemy. And while that's bad because it's making it hard to distinguish between player and enemy, at the same time it's good because for an immersion standard, the game feels really immersive for being an MMO. It's really, really hard, at least at this low level. I'm not sure what high-end armor will look like, if it's going to be like WoW where everything's got particles coming off of it. But it felt really seamless. Like, it felt like a bustling city and not just like a World of Warcraft or Guild Wars city where you got like people with crazy looking armor that just doesn't like fit in with the rest of everything. Everything looks like it fits together really well. The immersion is fantastic.
Yeah. Unless you are in the Tamriel PvP area, you will never see a health bar or a name bar above a fellow player. Everybody just looks like an NPC. The only time you can tell the difference, other than, just watching their patterns and what they're doing, that's pretty obvious, but is when they're in party with you. They have a little chevron above their head. That is it.
Yeah, and even then, you can turn health bars on for players, but like I said, by default, the stuff's turned off. It's very immersive. The user interface is clean. The cities are just, it feels like you're in the world. It doesn't feel like you're in an NPC's world with a bunch of players who are obvious they're players. Everything just melds together really well and creates this illusion that you're in your game world. You are a hero. And it's so hard to describe, but they did it really well.
Yeah, okay, so I have, it's a plus and a minus about the UI, how they did it. For one, I like how they did it so that, when they basically copied Skyrim to the T on their UI almost, where, if you're full health, after a few seconds, the health bar will fade away. That's cool. That means, if you don't see it, you're full health. Good. The thing I don't like about it is it literally is, like, copy-paste from Skyrim. They did not want to make any new assets for the UI.
it is kind of troubling because, and this is something that's been mentioned before, because they're trying to go with such a streamlined, very minimalistic user interface, it brings up issues. Like Dragon Knights have an ability where you grow spikes out your back and you kind of look flaming and enchanted. It's pretty badass looking. If you're playing first person view, which, okay, first of all, I'm not gonna play in first person view because I want that spatial awareness. But if you play in first person view, awesome. Good. Be immersed. Feel immersed in your game. You're never gonna know if you have that spell up or not, because there's no visual way to tell if it's on your character unless you're zoomed out and looking at your character. There's no buff timers, there's no debuff timers. It's really hard and really confusing to tell which buffs you have up and which ones you don't. And that is, from a gameplay perspective, is going to be a problem. So the biggest issue is, think of an endgame or a PvP situation where if you're playing in first person, again, I'm not going to knock you. You're going to not have your spatial awareness, but if that's your playstyle, awesome. And Skyrim had this issue too until, I believe, the Legendary patch, or maybe it could have been Sky UI, which had this. I don't remember because I don't play without add-ons.
Yeah.
But when you play and you have no idea if, well, okay, in Skyrim you had like a subtle glow, but like keeping track of your oak flesh or your other self buffs, or even shrine. Okay, there we go. Food buffs, sleep buffs. Oh, excuse me. That's unprofessional. Food buffs, sleep buffs, stuff like that in Skyrim was open your menu, go to your magic, look if you still got those. That's not very good because, one, it breaks up immersion. Two, in the heat of a moment, especially when we go to an MMO, from a single player game to an MMO, where bringing up the menu doesn't pause your game, it's an issue because you need to know if you've got your buff up, if you're doing your maximum damage output, if you've got your maximum defensive abilities on. Not being able to see if you have, and I didn't play a Dragon Knight, I'm just going from what I've seen our Dragon Knights use, that move that causes the spikes to come out of their back and I assume makes them stronger or something. When you're in first person view, that's going to be an issue. Now, I'm not sure how big of an issue because, as we all know, this game is going to be moddable from day one. And there's already, on EzoHead, there is a link to a website for mods for this game. There's already people developing mods for ESO. So
it's already up on Curse too.
One of the mods. Yeah. So buff timers could be modded into the game, but they shouldn't have to be. In an MMO, that's something that should be there. You should be able to see readily what your buffs are and what your debuffs are, especially if you're going to play first person and there's no really distinctive visual effect for you to know if it's worn off or if it's not worn off while in first person.
Yeah, it's fine if, you have your buff timers, you have your built-in ones. Maybe it's like EverQuest, where it's literally just a box in the corner of your screen with a list of your buffs. And then someone makes an add-on to make it maybe a little bit more visual for them, or maybe display more info on it, or maybe show the time on it without having to mouse over or something like that. But not having one at all is completely unacceptable.
It really is, because I don't even know why I would try to justify it, because it's really something that doesn't need to be justified. It's just fact. You have to have that. That is something an MMO needs. You need to be able to track your buffs and your debuffs at any given time. With that said, like playing with Sword and Shield, your first move puts a armor debuff on the target, and visually it makes their health bar look like it's cracked. Okay, there's a visual way to see if your debuff's on, but you don't know how long the debuff's going to remain on your target. You don't know when it's going to fall off and you need to refresh. it really comes down to a min and max thing. And like I said, I play in third person, so I have the spatial awareness. I'm going to tell if I've got a visual effect still on my character or if it's worn off. But thinking for the people who aren't going to play in third person, this is something that affects you, and it's going to suck for you to not know if you've got up or not. Or wasting mana or stamina or whatever resource, reapplying it when you don't need to reapply it. That's another issue.
Yeah, and I think just from going from other MMOs to this, you're not going to see that very, very faint red glow when you're in the middle of a raid boss. All the other spell effects going off is going to superimpose that. You're just not going to see it.
Oh God, I just now realized that. So imagine playing World of Warcraft in Mists of Pandaria, and you're fully zoomed in, which you can do that in WoW. Imagine all of those spell effects going off in your face. Now imagine that in ESO. That's why I don't play in first person, especially if we're going to be raiding or we're going to be doing the PvP, because there's going to be so much happening. You need to be able to see what's going on. And if you're going to play first person, power to you. More power to you all the way. But I have a feeling that it's not going to be a very pleasant experience.
I think questing would be doable in first person. Just my personal opinion. I think it would be doable. I think it'd be great for immersion and storyline. But if you're going to do PvP or raid or any kind of endgame content, or even just a dungeon with other players, you need to be in third person for that spatial awareness. You're not going to see, ground effects while you're staring at a boss, or you're not going to see if you need to dodge a falling icicle or something if you can't see it. And you're going to get yelled at if you're in first person because you're not going to see what you need to get out of.
Yeah, like I said, I may even quest in first person, because I've played all the Elder Scrolls games in first person. I enjoy it. It puts me into my character. But when I go to do something that's not casual, when I need to be able to see what's on the ground, what's above me, what's behind me, what's to my sides, I am very much going to be in third person. It's not even a question. You need spatial awareness. And it's kind of sucky, but because of that lack of user interface, the lack of a user interface, because they're trying to streamline it and get you so immersed, that it's really going to hinder a lot of players who play in first person. Like, this game was not designed with first person in mind. And it's true, because when this game was first announced, they didn't know if they would have or if they would not have first person in the game. They eventually put it in because enough people want it. Hopefully, if enough people say they want more user interface options, they'll put them in. Because right now, their systems menu is pretty bare bones. Like, I went to my audio tab and I wanted to change the game's audio output, because I have multiple sound inputs and outputs. I've got my speakers, I've got my headset, so on and so forth. I want my game to come out of a different audio source. I won't be able to do it. There is no option for audio source in the game menus, and that's kind of a problem for me. There's no option for choosing if your audio is stereo, mono, surround sound. It's very bare bones in your interface, your audio, all that stuff, and that's pretty bad.
Yeah, if you want your sound to come out of your 5.1 or 7.1 surround system, sorry, you're stuck with stereo on default. So whatever your default output is, that's what you're stuck with, and you're stuck on stereo. Your front left and front right. Actually, no, it'd be 2.1 because your subwoofer would work too. That's it.
Actually, expanding on that, like I said, there's no option to choose it, but I did, during my playtest, I did have surround sound. I don't know if it was 5.1 or 7.1, but I was getting surround sound, or at least emulated surround sound, if not real surround sound. It's there. It's just you need to have these options for people. You need to have the option to choose how many sound channels you have active. You need to have the option to choose where your audio source is. You need to have the option to choose what your audio source setup is so that the game can be configured properly for your setup. And the lack thereof of those options is really worrisome, and is another thing that I've made a feedback report on. Hopefully it gets changed. I mean, in time, I really thank the End Time, because this is their first MMO, which is another thing that we really have to remember. We're giving it a lot of flack, but this is, at the end of the day, their first MMO. They're going to make mistakes. It's expected. Hopefully they'll learn from those mistakes.
Here's crossing every finger and toe and leg and arm that they fix these mistakes.
Yep. But I feel we've been really negative, so I think now would be the good time of our... This is going to be a pretty long discussion. If you're listening, you can tell that we've already been going on for a while, and that this discussion is probably going to go on for a good while more. Really, this is our overall afterthoughts on everything.
Yeah,
we like the voice acting, we like the visuals. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is our culmination of our thoughts from all the previous beta tests that we've done, focusing most on the last one here, before final release, before we start the 5-day head start coming at the end of the month here. So this is deep down what we feel up to this point, including all the previous betas.
Yep. So, right off the bat, I feel that they've nailed the combat system. I like having a bunch of options for spells, but limited place. I like to mix and match. I like the combat being left click to attack, hold left click to power attack, although I do feel that the actual strength of normal attacks versus power attacks needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Definitely. I definitely like the skill morphing system. It adds... It takes away from the fact that, you don't have a whole giant list of spells like in EverQuest, and I'll post up a screenshot of my Hunter's UI back in BC to give an example of this. Where in EverQuest and World of Warcraft and other MMOs like that, where you have just page upon page upon page of spell books and skills, and you could fill up a 255 button UI with just skills and still not have enough room. You get 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 5. Q for a quick slot, and R for your quote-unquote ultimate ability, which for Sorcerer, I didn't actually feel some of those were really ultimate worthy, but maybe once they're leveled up and morphed a bit, maybe they will.
Do ultimates morph? Because I didn't get either of my 2 ultimates leveled to the point where I could see if they could morph.
I have no idea. I'm just assuming they will because it's a spell, and I don't know. We didn't really get that high. But yeah, I mean, sure, you only get a limited amount of spells, but what you can do with those spells is actually pretty nice. Like, once you get it to where you can morph it, one of the abilities the Sork had was, hey, your lightning bolt can now either do a little bit more damage or return a little bit of mana if it dies with while it's on. I went with the mana back because, hey, why not? Yeah,
the morphing system is fantastic, and it's very, very unique. Like Assassinate, one of the moves I had, or was it Assassin's Blade, something like that. It was an attack that did so much magic damage, and then the lower health they had, the more damage it did, up to 300% more damage. I could morph that to either have, instead of a 5-yard range, a 15-yard range, or to give me, I think it was like 25% of my maximum life back if it was the move that I used to finish my target off. Like, all these abilities had very unique and different effects to them. Some of them were, more boring, like, oh, it just gives you a little bit of mana back or something like that. No offense that, you have a boring morph.
It was, but it was useful. I gotta be honest here. I went for the mana return because it was more useful than 5 more damage.
Yeah, the 5 more damage and so forth. Those are some of the more boring ones. But then you get stuff that's like really cool, like you do this and your next attack will have a chance to trigger this. And there are some pretty cool morphs. I think the system, really, we've been comparing a lot to WoW. I'm going to compare it to Guild Wars now, because that's where I feel this combat system is more closely related.
Oh, definitely.
I feel that the Elder Scrolls, it did such a better job than what Guild Wars 2 did for their combat system. I feel that they were both trying to reach the same end goal, and Elder Scrolls Online just did so much better when coming to that.
They took the Guild Wars style system where they gave you a limited amount of skills that you can have on your bars. They don't let you add more buttons with add-ons like you could with WoW, and bumped it up a notch and mixed a bit of kind of, I don't know, this may be a little bit of an obscure reference, but they mixed a bit of Vindictus in there, actually. Where instead of, like, Guild Wars, you turn your weapon on and it's automatic. You every 3 hits it does this, every 3 hits it does this. No, they made it so you actually have to manually swing your weapon or manually cast Fireball from your staff. It's amazing. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, it can't be done because it's an MMO. Well, sorry.
I do have to say, though, the left click to attack, right click to block, and both buttons to interrupt, like, that could have felt a little bit more Elder Scrollish, because the way power attacks work and attacks work, I'm not the hugest fan of. I like it. It's fresh for an MMO, but I feel when it comes to action-based, like, combat, that, and I'm probably gonna get, like, murdered for saying this, Neverwinter did a way better job at making your main, like, normal attacks feel really fluid and actiony. These attacks with the left click kind of feel binary and blocky at times, but at the same time, comparing it again to Guild Wars, I feel that this system, it had a lot more thought process on how it should work than Guild Wars. You have something to do at all times. Your main attack is your left click, and then you've got skills that you use occasionally, because your resource pool, be it stamina or be it mana, is very limited. So your main attacks are going to end up being your main attacks, but it's not an auto attack. You don't just choose a target and let your character attack. It's you click to swing. And there's just something so satisfying and rewarding about that system.
Yeah, okay, so for people watching the stream, yes, I was primarily killing things with my abilities because I was a Sorc, and I could kill everything except for certain bosses with 3 buttons. But when it came to... I don't think I actually got into anything where... I recorded this in the stream because I just got frustrated with OBS and turned it off. But there was one boss inside one of the trees that I had to kill on my own because it was a phased area, and you just had this... I kind of want to equate him to Tyrael from Diablo 3, where it's just an NPC to be an NPC. It does absolutely fucking nothing. But I burnt through my mana in the first, 15 seconds of the fight, and it was a 3 or 4 minute fight. I could only do that every, minute and a half. So the majority of the fight, I just went 3, 2, 1, 1 out of mana. Time to left click spam. A majority of the damage dealt to the boss was from my staff damage, even though I'm a sorcerer. Really good at nuke damage, but has nothing after that.
Which is going to play into end game rating and PvP, especially PvP, because you just can't spam your spells you have. You really have to use those sparingly.
Yeah, you can't just stand in the corner and just go, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Magic Missile, Arcane Blast, Arcane... No, you cannot do that. You can do that maybe 3, maybe 4 times if you're lucky. And then you're sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for your Magicka to go up enough to where you can hit it again.
Yeah, so it really, the combat takes thought. It's not a mindless rotation, it's more of all of your spells are situational and you have attack. And I personally like that more than having a set rotation because it makes it so combat's alive. It's not still. You're not doing the... Okay, well, let me take that back. When you're starting out in the game, everything dies so fast, yeah, you're basically going to be like, spell 1, spell 2, it's dead, depending on what your class is. So it's very stagnant, but in the end game, in PvP or in-game combat, it's going to be something where it feels alive. You have to think about how you're going to use your spells because you're not going to have a set rotation because your mana or your stamina is going to drain so fast. You're not going to be able to do a set rotation. Most of your attack is going to be through your weapon, and then you're going to have those spells for when you need those spells.
Yeah, like I think I got to almost level 10, and I was dumping everything into Magicka. Like, I put 1 point into stamina when I realized that it was going, hey, you're not getting very much mana regen because you put way too many points into Magicka, and there's absolutely no way to respec because we walled off the city that has the respec guy, so good luck. But other than that 1 point, everything was in Magicka, and it didn't reduce the amount of mana it gave me, it just reduced the mana regen by 1 point. Whoop-de-doo. So, at level 10, I had, I think, 415 mana, and my lowest mana-using skill took 72.
Yeah, it's a lot. The skills use a lot of mana, and you're not given a lot, even if you put all your points into it, which I did too. I put all my points in Magic, and let's just say I went into Tamriel to do PvP, and their system scales you up a lot better than Guild Wars, for one.
Oh, definitely.
You don't have stats, you just have Magicka, stamina, and health, so it scales up so much better. Well, I was going just as fast as I was outside. Your spells aren't going to get cheaper. They're really going to be the same. Even when I spec'd all into Magicka, I found myself running out of Magicka really quickly and finding that I had to use my spells strategically and sparingly. And I appreciate that because now I have more of an appreciation for those spells. I feel like my combat's less of do this rotation, focus on that rotation in tunnel vision, and more of I'm looking at my enemy, I'm reacting to what they do. And that's something that really is needed in modern MMOs.
Although I will say, when you go into Tamriel and you have like 1200 stamina and can run for 20 miles before you have to stop, that's a little bit overkill.
Oh gosh, yeah, I was just thinking of how long you've been able to run if you had put all your points into stamina.
Yeah, I had 1 point in stamina, and I ran from one fort to the next, and by the time I got into combat at the next fort, I was at like a quarter stamina, because some person behind me had this thing that they would use that regened 20% of my stamina every 8 seconds.
Lucky, I never got that, but without that buff, when I had no points of stamina. So we were at one fortress near the Imperial City. There's I believe 6 fortresses surrounding the Imperial City, and you have to capture all of them to be able to claim someone as emperor. We were going from our fortress to their fortress, and at the halfway mark, there's like a little walled off like mini fortress per se, a choke point that people have to filter through. I was able to make it from my fortress to that choke point, which is a long way. The freaking I don't know if it's Cyrodiil or Tamriel, because now I feel really bad. I don't know my Elder Scrolls lore as good as I should.
I'm pretty sure it's Tamriel, because it's called the Tamriel Battleground.
Okay, so yeah, because I feel embarrassed for saying this, but it always confuses me if Tamriel is the world or if Cyrodiil's the world, or which. Anyway, gain my noobishness when I come to the games lore out of the way. You can run a very far distance, and you're not really making much distance. Like, this place is huge. This place is literally, for those of you who've played Oblivion, a 1-to-1 scale of the map of Oblivion. The landmarks and the mountains have been slightly tweaked, but this is literally as big as Oblivion. So you have an idea of how far you're traveling on foot. It's massive.
Yeah, and you don't get a speed boost. The only speed boost you get is if you have a horse. And even then, it takes at least 4 minutes on horse to go from one fort to the next. And there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forts between home entrances. So you're going to have a really fun time running from one end to the other if you got to go from your base to, an enemy base on the other side and you don't own any kind of waypoints in between.
Yeah, actually, this brings up a point that I want to mention. I love the grand scale of this, and while I'm a big fan, I'm going to mention Rev 3 Gaming, I believe. Gosh, I'm horrible with names, but Adam Sessler and them.
Yes.
They had which I have to say, I have so much respect for Adam Sessler. He was a big part of my childhood. I loved watching Tech TV before it became an abomination.
Abomination upon mankind, yeah.
They complained that the battleground, Cyrodiil, Tamriel, wherever it is, was too big, and that the lack of fast travel hindered it. Here's the thing, after playing it, no, not at all. The fast travel is perfect, as long as you have, because when you open your map, you'll see like little lines connecting each of the areas. That tells you what you currently have for a travel path, and you can warp to those locations as long as you've got an active line. So inside each keep, you got a way shrine, and you can use that to fast travel to any of your other keeps as long as the path is open. So it creates strategy. One, you can't just teleport wherever you want. You have to travel unless you own we'll just call it trade network for right now. But it also creates strategy for the enemy, because if you capture everything around their keep, they no longer have a direct line to teleport there. They have to run, and it's huge. It's a very long run. So what this does is it creates strategy. It makes you look at the map and go, if we can take this fort, they no longer have fast travel to this fort. So we can overwhelm them. They're eventually going to die. They're not going to be able to get the
reinforcements.
They're not going to be able. Yeah, reinforcements. I almost said resupply. They're not going to be able to get the reinforcements they need. It adds such a level of strategy. Yeah, it's inconvenient. You can't just teleport everywhere. But if you look past that and you look when it comes to putting strategy and how you invade and how you take over, it gives you so much more to play with. It's such a well-designed system. And really, don't complain about the travel. It's not that bad. It adds to it. You have to understand that this game's PvP system is built so well. it's so based on strategy, and you need to be able to have, you know, I don't even know what to say. It's just good. It's really good, guys. Like, I can't praise the PvP in this game enough.
And on the note of cutting people off, that's actually what exactly happened to our team on beta when we were playing the PvP. Our team, the Daggerfall Covenant, was attempting to invade. I can never remember what the whatever one yellow is. The
Aldemar Dominion, the Elven.
That one. Yes, the elven bastards that must all die. We were trying to invade a fort that the Aldemar Dominion owned. It was going so well, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, we'd take it, and then, you know, their reinforcements would get there, and then they'd wipe us out. But their walls were falling, ours weren't, so they'd come and try and invade us, but our walls were still up, so we'd push them back, and then we'd take their fort again, and then it just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, while we were busy with that, the Ebonheart Covenant, or Ebonheart people, came up and took the fort directly above ours. The one fort that the current one that we were using as fast travel was connected to. We could no longer res or fast travel to that fort. We were forced all the way back up to a fort above that. So Aldemar Dominion came in and wiped out whoever was left, took that fort, and we were done. There was nothing we could do, because we were now fighting two wars on two different fronts, and it was just not happening.
It was fantastic. It was just amazing, because we were focused on the Aldemar Dominion. We, like he said, we were pushing them back and pushing them forward. We had the edge. But we put all our forces against them. So on the map, the Ebonheart Pact started coming around and literally cut us off. We couldn't get anyone back to us. They cut off our reinforcements. So it was impossible to fast travel out of the fort we were defending or fast travel to the fort we were defending. You had to manually travel. And that the strategy behind that, it's just so good.
Yeah, anybody can pull this off. If you have a big enough group to cut off a supply line, just take off or just capture and take out a somewhat undefended spot, you can cut off an entire army. You're probably going to lose that point afterwards as they come trickling down from the one above that. But what you'll do in the process of that, even if it's 10 minutes, your other forces or the other team's forces, if you're grouping up and trying to take out one empire together, can take out so much more. So you took 1 point. They're going to take it back eventually, if not right away. But in the process, the other team or the rest of your team can take out 3 or 4. And if you take out certain key points, you can cut off an entire section of the map, because those forts or those churches or whatever they are have to be connected to one of the two spawning points at the top or bottom or wherever you spawn at. So if you're Aldemar Dominion, you have 2 spawning points at the very bottom of the map. There has to be a direct line between one of those 2 points and your fort. So if you own 90% of the map, but the enemy team sneaks around, spends, an hour traveling from their base all the way down to yours and takes out those 2 forts connected to your spawning point, you can no longer fast travel to any fort on the map.
Yeah, so if you were to so Daggerfall Covenant was at the top left of the map. If you were to snake your way from the top left all the way down and maybe capture the entire left side of Cyrodiil, all it would take would be the Aldemar Dominion or the Ebonheart Pact to come in from behind, take out one of those forts in your line of forts, and now suddenly the top section and the bottom section are cut off. You can't fast travel from or to the other section. You have to manually travel. So now your forces are cut off. You can't get forces down or up quickly anymore. You have to actually manually travel. It's just such a good system. It's well done. Unlike Guild Wars, which is if you own the keep and you've built a I don't know what they call it. We'll just say a way shrine for convenience. To teleport there, you can, regardless of if like there are 4 enemy keeps in between you, whatever. This system actually has a map that shows you like these are your networks, these are your travel networks. Keep them safe, otherwise you're screwed. And it's so sublime.
I do, however, have one complaint about it, is that the connecting lines don't actually follow the road. But that's just a cosmetic convenience for me, because I kept trying to follow the line, and it's like, oh, look, there's a mountain there.
I did that too. I opened my map, and I'm like, okay, I'll just follow this line. And I realized, like, as I looked at the map past the line, I was like, well, that's kind of not going to be a very straightforward path. But really, all it's supposed to do is, say, hey, if you have this port, you can fast travel to these ones. But I know what you mean. It's kind of annoying. For some reason, it just stands out, and it makes it look like, oh, this is a direct road. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's not. It really is not. It goes straight through mountains, unless you're really lucky and get a fort. Like, I don't even know if there's any on the map that the line actually goes straight through the gate. But between every fort, there is a choking gate. So you have to fight at the fort, and then you have to fight at the wall, or the gate between them, and then you have to fight at the other fort. So technically, if you wanted to capture another fort, you would have to both defend yours and then fight your way through 2 sets of walls. The gating wall and then the fort wall, which is amazing because it gives you multiple choke points.
Which choke points are very helpful. I mean, I know it's a fictitious. Well, I'm not gonna say fictitious, but it's Hollywood over glamorizing it. But 300 is a good example. Like, they had the perfect choke point to fight the Persian army, and even though they were a lot fewer in number, because they had to go through that choke point, they were set up right strategy-wise to fend them off. And that's really what this is you've got 2 fortresses and a choke point between them, and if you utilize that choke point well, like we did, where we set up catapults on the other side, and as they started to come through, we just started annihilating them, it can make or break your push. It's really strategic, and the system is wonderful.
Yeah, both sides have to defend it. Both sides need siege gear. Both sides need healers. That's for damn sure, because we had like 4 in our entire like 300 person army, and that was just not cutting it. And both sides have ramps up to the top, and there's a passageway through the center. So you really need to hold and defend it to keep that choke point. If you lose 1 inch, you're done.
Yeah, it's a good system. And I think that another thing that's good about the system is how you get loot.
Yes.
We were in there for what, 2 hours, and I got like 8 greens, like 8 randomized greens.
Yeah, I think they could probably do a little bit better of itemizing them, though, because it's like, hey, you're Sork. You totally want this plate of stamina.
Well, when it comes to itemizing, I think they could itemize everything better, because the quests, just going through normal quests, it's so random what you get. Oh, here, have some cloth pants, have a medium belt, all this. I'm just like, okay, I would really like to find a quest giver that would give me like 1 piece of plate, or I really want a quest giver that gives me this. It's, in general, the loot you get from quests and the loot you get from PvP are a little too random for my taste.
I think what would be an amazing difference to their loot system, and I think this would set them off and set them apart from everybody else, is, you know, those little tokens that we kept getting that were like, hey, you can now enchant such and such piece of gear with 5 stamina? Give those as give some of those as quest rewards. Not all quests, but, you know, some quests, give those as the rewards. Maybe as the final in a chain or something. That way, you know, since crafting is the primary way of getting gear in the game, you can actually do something to your gear that you're making. Instead of having statless gear all the time, you can put something on it.
You know, that's another thing, is since this game has an upgrade system where you can upgrade the quality of each piece of armor, having quest givers, say, give you upgrade materials like, oh, here's 3 of the things that are needed to make it go to green in quality. I think something like that would work too, you know, just like a way to upgrade gear maybe you've already gone. It doesn't all need to be just gear like a traditional MMO, because since there's 3 armor types and anyone can wear any armor type, excuse me, wow, that's rude. They're trying to spread too much armor and too much weapons over such a huge set of quests that really it's hard to get a full set of gear just through questing. In fact, I'll say it right now. It is impossible for you to get a full set of matching gear, medium, light, or heavy, through the quests. It is impossible.
Yeah, I don't think it's very seamless the way you transition between gear, because, I mean, early gear, even in other MMOs, you're like, okay, well, it has more armor, fuck it, I'll wear it. Or, you know, it has 1 int, I'm an agility user, but it's still better than what I had 4 levels ago. Whatever, I'll wear it. But in this game, I'd say probably after 10, you should start getting your class's armor. So if you're a Sorc, you need cloth, or light armor, I should call it, because it's not technically all cloth. But you need your light armor, you need your medium armor as a rogue, or whatever they're called, the Night Blades. You need your heavy armor as a Dragon Knight, or is that what they're called? I don't know. Didn't play one. But, yeah, quests just give you random something. You will never, out of quests, get a full set of your levels matching armor size.
And see, I disagree. I think that because people are going to play this game and they're going to be like, I want to be a mage that wears plate armor, or I want to be a warrior that wears light armor, which again, good for you. You're not going to min to max. You're going to be gimping yourself. But I think that really the best way that they should fix this is if a quest gives you a piece of armor, like some pants, have a choice. Let people say, do you want medium, light, or heavy pants?
Yes!
Because that would be the best.
I mean, even if they go with, like, Guild Wars or WoW style quest rewards, where it gives you 2 choices of something, at least that's a choice you get to make, instead of, hey, out of this quest, you always get, you know, medium gloves with magicka. Okay. What good is that going to do for a Dragon Knight? What good is that going to do for, a cloth-wearing Sorc? Nothing. I mean, the other
actually brings me to
the other reward might not also be very good, but, you know, it might have the stat you want, or it might be the armor type you want. It may not be both, but at least it's a choice.
I really don't want to keep complaining about this game, but one of the main quest lines you do, the Harborage, when you complete it, you get a ring. No matter what you are, it's always going to have magicka on it. And it's a blue quality ring, so it's a really good quality ring. That should not happen. But I really don't want to stick on this topic anymore because I've already done like an hour of complaining. I want to sing the praises. I want to sing the praises of this game because, like we said, we will, in a heartbeat, recommend this game to any of you because it is good. It's good. It's just we complain because we like this game and we want it to be the best it can be.
Yeah, we complain about everything. I mean, we complain. We've played World of Warcraft for going on 11 years now. We complain about that.
They're not even at their 10th year.
What? I thought their 10th anniversary was the last one.
No, that was their 9th anniversary. The 10th anniversary is this November.
Oh, well, going on 10 years. How's that? But, I mean, we've been playing that for going on 10 years now, and we complain about it. My account's still active.
Oh, yeah, I still play. I will complain all day about everything. Legendary Cloak being absolute bullshit. Pardon my French, I hope it's okay for me to swear.
Fuck it.
I love World of Warcraft. I loved Warhammer Online, and that really bums me out that game failed, because if it had come out just a few years earlier, it would have been a good competitor to WoW. But we're kind of getting off topic again. Really, we just complain because we like the game, and if there's something we don't like about it, we want to bring it up because we want the game to be better, because it is such a good game. So really, while it sounds like we're ranting a lot, it's because we think this game could be better and that this game has the potential to be something absolutely amazing. And I'm looking forward to playing it so much. So going on to something I liked about it, crafting, which is something we kind of skimmed over, but is really the bread and butter of this game. And really, if there's anything I'm going to praise at all over everything, how the game looks, the great voice actors they have, anything, crafting alone holds this game up.
Definitely. I'm kind of sad that you can't buy the motifs and you have to actually find them, but that's also a good thing, because you can't just, oh, well, I can't make this race's thing. I'm going to make a character over in this race, buy the motifs, throw them in the shared bank, and done. You actually have to go out and find them and figure out how to make each race's different style. And the only thing given to you throughout the entire crafting process is your race's style and the very, very, very basics of an armor and weapon set.
Here's how crafting works, and let's just lay it down. Unlike other MMOs where you get a recipe like breastplate of awesome +1, which has you get a set amount of resources and you make that breastplate. It's not like that at all. In fact, as far as I know, for armor crafting, weapon crafting, there are no recipes at all for the game. The only thing that you can get is the motifs, which will change the visual appearance of your crafting. So the way it works is you go to a blacksmithing table, you choose weapon or armor, then you choose what you want. So let's say that I'm crafting a weapon. I can cycle through a list of one-handed axe, one-handed mace, one-handed sword, two-handed axe, two-handed mace, so on and so forth. I pick the one I want. I go down to my resource type, and since this was an early beta, all that was available was iron, as far as I'm aware. So there's iron, there's different materials as you get higher level. You pick that material. Then you pick how much of that material you want to use. So if I were to use, say, I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's just say the base iron axe would take 5 iron bars. That gives you your base level 1 iron axe. If you put 7 iron bars into it instead of 6, it goes up to level 4. If you put 8 iron bars, it goes up to level 6, so on and so forth. So you actually get to choose the level of your axe by using more resources. Then if you go even further below, you choose the style. So if I know it, I can craft that style, which you get through racial motifs, which are random throughout the entire world. So you can craft any style as long as you know how to do it. That's the only quote-unquote recipe you have for the weapon and armor crafting, is the motif. After your style, you get to choose a trait, which you have to destroy an item, and it takes about 6 hours to learn how to make that trait. And then once you do, you have to have the proper gem to choose that trait. And traits are stuff like enchantments on this piece of gear are 12% better, or this gear is well fitted so you sprint faster and it costs less stamina, stuff like that. Those are traits. So after you've picked all that, you pick craft, and congratulations, you've got your weapon. But then it goes even further. You can upgrade that weapon. So you go to the upgrade tab, and it doesn't even have to be a weapon you made. You can get an item through questing or off of a monster, and it could be white quality, it could be green quality, whatever. If you have the proper materials, you can upgrade its quality, and the system is done so well. I don't think Tana had a chance to play with it. I did last time, which when you're extracting your metal and you're turning it into bars, you have a chance of getting rare material for your upgrade, which for like woodworking it was pitch, for clothing it was hemming. And what it does is each of those gives you a chance when you're upgrading to upgrade. So you go into the upgrade menu, you choose the item you want to upgrade, and it says to upgrade this from white to green, it requires this material. If you use one hemming, you have a 20% chance of upgrading, an 80% chance of destroying your item in the process. So it's like gambling. If you have 5 of them, however, you have a 100% chance of upgrading. And it will bump it up from common quality to uncommon quality and further and further and further on. So really the crafting system is so open-ended. There's so much complexity yet simplicity to it that it allows so much possibility compared to a standard MMO of, do you have this recipe? Get this exact number of resources. You've got your chest plate. Like it's so open-ended and it's so good. I could just talk for hours on why I like it.
I will comment that there is one type of crafting that requires a recipe, but also kind of not. Alchemy, making potions.
Was it alchemy or was it provisioning? Because I know provisioning. You have
provisioning too.
Soups.
Yeah, provisioning you actually needed to collect recipes. Alchemy, for potion making, you actually. It's actually kind of awesome. You go out and you get your flowers, you get your herbs, blah blah blah. But you don't know what those do. It's just like Oblivion and Skyrim. You have to eat it or use it to find out what it does. And then you know what it does by mousing over. You'll be like, question mark, adds 3 stamina, question mark. So you eat 3 more and you find out what the other 3 are. But in potion making, that can actually change depending on what else you put in the potion. So you can get hundreds of thousands of different combinations just by changing what position each one is in. So you can put like wort root in the first one and I don't know, something else in the second one, get 1 potion. Swap those positions and get a completely different potion. Add a third, there's an entire next tier of different potions that you can make. I think that's beautiful. It's not like, other places where it's like, oh, well, you want to make health potions? Well, get an empty vial and 3 of these. Put it together. Find it in the list. Click OK.
It really gives it a unique taste, because this isn't your standard MMO crafting system. This is a crafting system where they've gone, we're gonna break away from the norm, and we're gonna do what we did good in Skyrim, what we did well in Oblivion. They're making a system that's not super binary, but at the same time is far more binary. It's so hard to explain how the system is ridiculously powerful and complex, and you have so many options, but at the same time it's so simplistic that it's almost embarrassing. It's mind-blowing how they've brought these systems into the game and made them something entertaining, something that I feel I'm going to waste countless hours of just doing outside of actually playing the game. I can see myself doing a lot of crafting.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm a big crafter in every game or every MMO or whatever I play. So I have like a max level every trade skill in just about every game I play. And this one is definitely going to take the cake for how many hours I sunk into it.
Yeah. Gosh, I just, it's good. The crafting system's good. And like I said, when it comes to armor and weapons, you can take a quest reward you got and you really like, and you can upgrade it. And going even further beyond that, when crafting an item, they kind of went back to the old school systems that have been gone from games for so very long. Back in World of Warcraft, as an alchemist, there were things that you had to craft inside Blackwing Lair or Raid. You had to go outside of your city and find a specific location to craft it. That's what they're doing in this game. You will find throughout the game different forges. Like, imagine, if you will, the Sky Forge in Skyrim. Imagine if crafting there in this game gives you a different bonus. Like, as we were traveling through the Daggerfall Covenant, we found this house with a guy hiding out in it, and it looked ransacked, and there's a basement. We went to basement, and we found like all these like crafting tables. We're like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. As we opened up the crafting table and started like looking at the crafting there, everything was set. So if you crafted at those crafting stations, it gave you set bonuses on your items you crafted. And it was just so awesome because it promotes you going and exploring the world and going to different places that aren't in the convenience of a city, just to maximize your crafting, to maximize what you're going to get from your crafting.
Yeah, like, I don't remember what the exact bonus is, so I'm just going to pull something out of the air. Like, imagine if you had to go 3 miles out of town just to use a crafting table that gave you a set bonus of, if you're wearing 3 pieces of armor made with this crafting table, you get an extra 15 magicka per piece. That's an amazing bonus.
And it's not something that's just handed to you. You have to go out there and you have to get it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, if they have like an auction house system or something, I didn't find one. I think I saw like an auction house logo on the map, but I think that was just the general market area. But I'm sure you could find something like that on a market or buy it from a player, but they had to go out and get it. They had to go out and do it. It's not like, oh, hey, well, I need to, you know, craft some iron bars. I'm just gonna go to the local. I'm just gonna go to my main city, go to the blacksmith. Done. Okay, I'm gonna make this boot. Done. No, you have to go somewhere to do it. And there wasn't a fast travel marker there either. You had to run there. You had to remember where it was, or you had to mark it on a map somewhere.
There wasn't even an indicator for that building at all. There was no indicator. We just stumbled upon it. We went in just exploring, and we were rewarded for doing that by finding this location. And I guarantee that there'll be maps. This stuff's all going to be discovered. It's all going to be mapped on the internet. But the fact that it's not, like, the game's not telling you it's there and that you have to actually go find it, harkening back to the days where MMOs didn't hold your hand, is something that I appreciate. And I pray that, and I'm sorry if you're a casual player, you know, you're ruining the experiences I like. You really are. The hardcore gaming experiences that I grew up with EverQuest, where everything wasn't streamlined, where everything wasn't at your fingertips, where the game didn't hold your hand and give you everything, where you had to actually go out there, you had to actually work for it, you had to actually discover this stuff. I am so happy to see, even if it's just for the crafting alone, just to see that little minute detail make an appearance again, it makes me smile so much. It makes me so happy that this is there. And I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to complain, why do I have to run out and find this location that's not even marked on the map, and why do I have to do all this just to craft that? And you know what? Honestly, you will be able to buy it. You'll be able to buy it through the auction house. If you want to be lazy, good for you. But there are those of us who want to work for what we get, because when you work for something, when you put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort in doing something that's not easy, you have a better appreciation of it. And it makes you want to continue. It makes you want to continue to progress. When everything's just handed to you, you have no reason to continue. And honestly, there was a good way that Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation put it. He was talking about Minecraft and comparing it to Gmod, and I'm gonna paraphrase here. When you take and stack a whole bunch of ragdolls on top of crates of TNT and explosives and blow it up and create some giant spectacle, yeah, it's entertaining for a few seconds, but the effect wears off quickly. When you're playing a game that actually makes you work, which he was talking about Minecraft, and you spend hours digging up half a continent just to get enough gold to make a giant, as he put it, cock and balls, you appreciate it that much more, especially if you have a chance of losing it. And it's just like having to work for what you get really gives you an appreciation of it. I feel that too many people nowadays want instant gratification, and that's one of the things I hate about the way World of Warcraft's going and the way most companies look at their games. I'm so glad to see that this crafting system has been made where it's going to be an inconvenience to go out, find this place, unlock it if you have to unlock it, just to be able to craft that. And I think that really there's going to be complainers no matter what, but when you go in there and you do this, guys, and you unlock this and you achieve this, you're going to appreciate it so much more. You're going to be proud of what you got, and I think that's a good thing that needs to come back to MMO.
I completely agree. A lot of MMOs have just dead stalled on, let's give everybody everything right away, here's your daily epic, basically. It's like, okay, well, back in the good days of MMOs, seeing someone in full epics or seeing someone in full raid gear, that was a spectacle. It was rare. You didn't see people in towns with full raid gear 3 days after they created the character. And I'm really hoping that this game does not go that way.
Well, seeing how long it took us to get to level 10 out of 50, seeing how the crafting system works, seeing how everything works, I've got high hopes. I have really high hopes for this game, and I think that it's doing a lot of things right. I am just really hoping that they don't cave in and change what's good about the game and not address what's bad about the game.
The only thing I worry about at this point right now, other than, them fixing the bugs and blah, 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 basically other than points we've already gone over, microtransactions. I am not looking forward to them charging for quote-unquote DLC.
it is kind of unsettling that a pay-to-play game, which the reason a game's pay-to-play is so they have constant income to, one, support their servers, two, to pay their employees. It means that you are guaranteed to get more and more content. And we're moving into a world where that's going away. We've got free-to-play games with microtransactions, which, okay, whatever, that's a substitution for a pay-to-play. But when you're a pay-to-play game, there are a few standards you have to uphold. You have to give your players content, and by double dipping, by saying, well, you're gonna have to pay a monthly fee just to play this game, and in addition, we might gate off content unless you pay us extra money, like the Imperial race. That is something that I'm not sure how I feel about, because could you imagine if you're paying $15 a month for this game and then a new raid tier comes out and they say we want another $15 from you? Because it's so different from an expansion. I don't even know how to describe it. It worries me, and because we don't know too much about what exactly is going to be in their shop right now, I'm not sure if I should be too worried. If it's just vanity pets and mounts, okay, fine, I understand, big deal. But if it's raid content or anything that gives a player power, like items with stats that are better than anything you can get without buying it, that's where the issues come from.
Yeah, vanity stuff, like how WoW does it and some of what Guild Wars does, that's fine. That's just, hey, whatever, I paid $12 to have a red horse instead of a white horse. Your choice. I wouldn't do it, but your choice. But when you get into the things like, I think the ones that Guild Wars do are okay. It's just, hey, you have a 12% EXP boost because the mid-content game is kind of, it gets you up to 80 quicker so you can get to the end game. After the giant rush to 8, or after the giant rush to max level, that's fine. But during the initial who will be first on server to max level race, that stuff should be blocked. That stuff should not even be listed. Or if it's listed, you can't buy it. I think, and I was watching someone else who had the same comment that I'm about to post here, is the Rings of Mara, the XP bonus from the Rings of Mara, are going to be a big killer in that race to max level.
Yep.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what the Rings of Mara do, is they give you an XP bonus. But only if you share them with another person. So, you have to have a friend who also has the Imperial Edition, who also starts playing and plays at the same time you do, to get the bonus. If they don't have the Imperial Edition, you have to sit there and wait for them to be able to get in. So if they bought the Standard Edition, there goes your 5-day head start. You're now at a 3-day head start because you're sitting there waiting for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I really, talking about the pre-order bonuses and talking about the collector's edition bonuses could be an entirely different video of its own, and maybe we will do.
Yeah, I think we'll hold off on those for now, unless it becomes a serious issue that we're talking about. But yeah,
And it's been something that's been discussed to death already, because the announcement of all that stuff was put out a while back. One thing we could talk about, though, actually no, we'll make a separate video, because this one I can tell is already getting really long, and we should probably wrap up with our final thoughts. Really.
Yeah, if I'm already at 2 hours and 6 minutes recording, probably about 250, not including minor pauses we took.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. It's got so much going for it. Elder Scrolls Online has so much going for it that I really feel that's going to be a good game. Nothing's going to be... Oh, well, I can't really say that. I'm sure it's not going to be a WoW killer, and really no one has any right to say it is or is not going to be a WoW killer, because we'll never know if beforehand if something will be. Just look at EverQuest. I mean, who would have thought that Blizzard Entertainment, who had never made an MMO before, could come out with an MMO that would dethrone the sequel to a company that's had years and years of experience of this. I mean, you never know what is or is not going to dethrone another game. So we won't go in that, but I will say this. This is a good MMO. This is an MMO that's going to be a lot of fun to play, and that I would recommend to anyone. Really, the crafting system, the combat system, the PvP, it's all so good. If they can fix the bugs, this is definitely going to be a good MMO, guys.
Yeah, this needs a little bit of TLC from the developers. That's about it. There's, minor cracks in the paint, basically, but other than that, the structure is there. The foundation, the structure, the everything is there. It just needs polish. I'm really hoping that the developers, hear some of our cries. Maybe not us personally, but there's... I was looking. I did YouTube searching, and, the top 50 ranked videos were all, this is what's wrong with EZO, and this is why it's probably going to fail. I don't want it to fail. I want it to succeed. I want to be playing this instead of WoW or EVE or EQ 10 years from now.
Yep. So, final verdict, get it. I think that if you've heard everyone saying that this is going to be the biggest flop of 2014, that this is just going to fail right off the bat, it could. If none of the bugs get addressed, yeah, that's totally a possibility. But really, guys, that has been blown out of proportion. This is going to be a good game. It's got its issues. We went at least an hour and a half just ranting on the issues in the game. It's got its issues. Every game has its issues as an MMO. This one maybe more so than others, but if you look at the experience from an overall point of view, it's good. It's worth giving your time and money to and supporting it. And when I say support it, don't just say the game's perfect. Don't say nothing but praises. Understand that saying something negative is not bad. Saying something negative should not be something that you have to be persecuted for. Saying something negative tells a developer that there's something that needs to be changed. Just do it in a well thought out, well organized manner. If it's a bug, tell them it's a bug. If it's a feedback about a system that you feel doesn't work, give them your feedback, because that's what feedback is. It's basically your opinion on their system, and they want to hear it. That's why they have a focus /bug and feedback command in the game. It's because they want feedback. So give them feedback. Make this game better. That's what you are as part of the community. Join this game, have fun, enjoy it. It's a good game, and give your feedback. If you don't like something, tell them. People who say that, oh, she was the word that they always use on the WoW forums. Like they say, Blizzard doesn't owe you anything. That your monthly payment. Wow, I can't. I'm glad we're wrapping this up because I'm now fumbling over my words. Blizzard doesn't owe you anything. That your monthly payment doesn't entitle you to anything. That's bullshit. Guys, I'm telling you right now, that is absolute bullshit. You are entitled to your opinion, and believe it or not, those companies, even if they disagree with you, they want your opinion. So give your opinion. Tell them what's wrong with their game. Tell them what you think should be changed. Give your feedback. Because really, it's the community of a game that shapes the game, for better or for worse, as we've seen in some MMOs. Things change, and you are the active voice behind it. Don't let anyone ever put you down. Go out there, play it, have fun. If you like the game, negative feedback's not something to be ashamed of. Give it. It's going to help the game out a lot. And I have a feeling that if you guys go out there and you play it, that deep down, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to find something that you don't like about it, and you're going to want to complain. Do it. Complain. Because giving that negative criticism is going to help in the end. So please, just try it. Don't give in to the whole, this is already a failure. It's got its issues, but it's got so much potential, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to give my final verdict of definitely play it. It's worth, even if you wait until after release, it's worth the $40 or whatever dollars or whatever currency you happen to pay in, whether it be euros, pounds, yen, whatever it is. It's worth that initial cost just to play the first month. After the first month, that's up to you, but you should really at least do the initial first month. And I completely agree that, well, both positive and negative criticism are good. Negative criticism is better, because you're not just telling them what they did right, you're telling them what they didn't do right. At least in your opinion. I mean, if you think that the next button should be on the right, or, you know, Alt shouldn't be open whatever last menu you had, which I really think is a bad idea, because I don't know, Alt should not be a menu, because that is a commonly used button for other things, but any bad decisions that they made that you think were bad decisions, not just everybody else, but you think, other people may have submitted the same thing and just not posted it on the forums. That's a very common thing. But unless someone does it, they don't know.
Anyway, final verdict, get the game, play it. And really, that's all we have to say now. So,
yep.
To all of you who decided to watch this video, it's a very long video. I'm suspecting most of you, like me, for videos on like what your thought on a game is or something, probably just listening into the background. Thank you for listening to our rambles, our rants, our praises on this game. I mean, it's going to be a good one, guys. So thank you again for listening. Please leave your thoughts, your opinions, your comments down below. Try to be civilized. Just thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.
Yeah. Good day. Get it. Play it. Good morning, good night, whatever time it is when you're playing or when you're listening to this. Thank you for listening.
So with that out of the way, I need another bathroom break, and